Welcome to Sales Velocity TV, where we pull back the curtain on how the top businesses in the world sell more with less resistance. Bringing over 50 plus years of combined sales experience and over 100 million in revenue generated, please welcome the hosts of Sales Velocity TV and two incredibly entertaining gentlemen, Andrew Cass and Aaron Parkinson.
Welcome back to another episode of Sales Velocity TV and Radio. I'm Andrew Cass. That's Aaron Parkinson to my, left, right, whatever. We have an interesting topic today, probably the burning question, Aaron. I call this the burning question topic. The burning question. If I'm in sales, if I'm making presentations, how do I get people to say no less? Why do they say no to me so much, right? Why can't I get more yeses? And we're going to dissect, I guess, the art and the science of turning your sales process into more of a yes process. And I'm going to let you kick it off here because this is something that you have a pretty interesting framework around. And of course, I'll have comments as well. So let's do it.
Well, and I think we need to address the mini elephant in the room for you and I, which is why on earth are we doing a sales velocity show on a Saturday? And the reality is, nobody's perfect. Yesterday we thought we had a tech problem. We had to kill the show. It turned out, bizarrely enough, my huge echoey office was feeding back into your mic. You could hear yourself coming in. We thought we were having tech meltdowns. Turns out it was just a simple volume issue. Had to kill the show. Now we're doing it on a Saturday. Now, here's a big thing, Andrew. Most people, they don't value consistency, and they don't value just getting the job done. They'd be like, I ain't doing it on a Saturday. Let's just skip it till next week. But you and I were like, nope, we're getting it done. We've made this commitment. Your commitment and your follow through is everything. We're doing this show. Instead of it being on a Friday, it's on a Saturday. That just should show our listeners how much we value, them tuning in.
Yeah, I agree. And if you're listening on radio, you have no idea what we're even talking about right now. But if you're used to chiming in on our Friday live stream out of the Facebook group, you're like, and we had a bunch of people going, where's the show? Where's the show? I'm getting into that habit of watching you guys on a Friday. And we appreciate that. But yeah, things happen. Tech happens. And you're right. We got to get a show on every single week. We love it. We love the content that we do, and we love the feedback that we get from doing the content. So you're right. We showed up, and at the time of this recording, it is on a Saturday. And I think you made a great point right there, is consistency. And in selling,
yeah, absolutely.
Consistency in selling is everything.
Yeah, and I think that the other thing that we have to address is the fact that some people might think we just do this show, but we don't actually actively do the
things we teach in the show, right?
Right.
That's always.
So let me ask you a question.
That's always you're right. Do they really teach and do the thing? Is there?
Yeah, I don't want to learn. It's why I dropped out of university. I felt like I was learning from people who didn't have any business experience. At least I was in my first 4 years of universities. Maybe in graduate school I would have got some. But I was learning from people that had no business experience and were making nowhere near the amount of money that I wanted to make. And so it wasn't congruent in my mind with the reason that I was there. So I left. So for those people that are wondering, do you guys actually ever sell anything? We sell a lot. And so I'll ask you, Andrew, how many sales calls a week do you think you do?
I would say on average nowadays, New Year 2021, I probably do a good 10 a week.
Yeah,
I would say that's 10 a week. And they're really, they're not volume. They're really well positioned. By the time someone gets to me, they're ready to talk about doing something, right? And that's all a process-based sales process, which we'll talk about today. That's really, I guess, the big secret before we get going is how do you get to more yeses and less nos? You have an elegant system that warms people up and provides them with the right information and value leading up to you, so that in most cases, in a perfect world, they come to you predisposed to buy. It's more of just a needing to hear a little bit more, maybe get to know you and figure out what's the best route that you think I should make. And that takes a long time to get to that level, right? That's a great place to be.
Well, it takes time and it takes a system, right? And there were times in your life, in your history, Andrew, I mean, you were in the mortgage industry, you were in the Wall Street world. I mean, back in those days, what did they tell you to do?
Yeah, that was, investment banking days and then mortgage banking days after that. It's a lot of good old fashioned make a ton of dials. I mean, as a young kid coming up pre-internet, in the brokerage industry in New York, it was all phone dial. I mean, you had to make 200-300 dials a day. So it was all just grunt work, dialing, and showing up cold. And that's all that creates. We talk about selling with less resistance. Those processes are selling with more resistance. All you do is create resistance on top of resistance on top of resistance. And really what we try to do in the show here and what we'll talk about here today is how do you just continue to stack the deck in your favor so you have less resistance with everything that you do in your sales process and ultimately when somebody gets to meet with you in person or on a Zoom or on the phone.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people will see the title of the show and they'll be like, oh, great, I'm going to come onto the show today and they're going to tell me the magic words when somebody gives me the no to turn them into the yes. And I'm here to tell you right at the top of the show is absolutely not what I'm going to do because I think that way of selling is outdated. It has a lot of friction. It's exhausting. And most importantly, it's unnecessary. I would much rather have a process put in place where people are showing up trying to prove to me that I am a good candidate for your business. That's how you sell with less resistance. Yeah. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about the old school way, right? The old school way, there's always 5 key reasons why that people will give you why they don't want to buy your product or your service, right? Number 1, I have to think about it, right? Old school way, you'd say something like, well, what question could I answer for you right at this moment that would allow you to get over your concern around moving forward with this process today? Now, again, not saying that that doesn't work for a small percentage of people, but it's got friction. Andrew, what else have you heard in the past?
I'm laughing here as you do this because coming up as a young stockbroker at 21 years old, 22 years old, you can only imagine the things they taught us to say. This is a very hard, direct sale. Again, no technology, no elegance, no grace like we put in place today. So like in your I'm not interested example, I'm laughing because it's almost like it's still embedded in my brain from like 30 years ago. Guy says, I'm not interested, and they teach you to say, well, what do you think right now? Well, I need to think of, I think you said I need to think about it, right? What do you think about it? Well, what do you think right now? We would always try to get them into the right now stage, right? It was always like just boxing them in, right? I'm not interested. You're not interested in what? What exactly is it you're not interested in? So it's kind of like, you're almost like always in like you're always challenging their response. And, there might have been a place for that in sales back in the day, but with the tools and systems and the ability to automate and leverage today, like you said, you don't have to be a hardcore, pushy salesperson today. But as we go through these, it's funny because it's bringing back my old school sales training in the brokerage space, which is probably some of the most aggressive sales training out there.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough slogging. I'm going to give my question, the objection, my overcoming that objection, and then you give over your overcoming objection. I need to talk to my business partner or my husband or my wife before I make a decision, right? Do you always have to talk to your partner or your wife or your husband before you make a decision? Is there a trust issue that's embedded there? Do they not trust you to make a decision that you feel would be beneficial for your relationship or your business and have that confidence in you to move forward with that decision? All completely based around challenging their ego.
Yeah. Kind of breaking people down, right?
Yeah. I mean, I have to talk to my business partner about it, Andrew. What was a typical
something way along the lines, Aaron, of you and I both know that if you go talk to your wife or business partner and you try to relay this information third hand to them, it's going to get lost in the shuffle and you're going to probably miss out on a great opportunity that really is here and now and something along those lines, right? So it was really trying to invalidate all the reasons why that's not a good answer.
Right? Somebody says to you, the price is a little steep. XYZ does it cheaper, right? So what you're telling me is that if you want to go out and you want to win the Indy 500, what you're looking for is the cheapest model of car that's going to allow you to get on the circuit, and you feel 100% confident that you're going to be able to win the race because you bought a car for the lowest price. Is that what you're telling me right now?
And is that what you want to do, right? Do you really want to do that? Think about that long-term as a decision, right? You'd challenge the cheapest option. You'd challenge the talk to the partner. You'd challenge the I'm not interested right now, right? So that's a tough place to start when you're in challenge mode. But listen, at the end of the day, Aaron, you and I both know, it's very natural for rebuttals to happen. People are going to say things that aren't a yes, and there are ways to get around that. So the old school way that you're talking about right now, which is to challenge belief systems and to really kind of, almost make them feel bad about their answer. Right. It's awkward for everybody. And it doesn't create less resistance. It creates more resistance.
Absolutely. The last two big ones for me is, number one, I don't have any money right now. Okay, well, Andrew, let's talk about your financial situation. Let's talk about options. Do you have a credit card? What's your limit on it right now? Do you have somebody that you could ask to borrow the money? When is your next payday? Can you push off some of your bills on that next payday so that we can get started getting you results today? Right? This would be the standard way to overcome the I don't have any money question right now. Right? That's the old school way of doing it. Anything you want to add to that?
No, those are them right there. I think the other big one is, listen, you and I both know that if a family member got into a pinch and you needed to bail them out of a health crisis or some sort of, and needed to come up with $5,000 in a pinch, you and I both know you would circle the wagons and probably be able to come up with that money in a day or so. This is no different, right? These kind of things. I don't know if that's word for word, but it's that.
Yeah, I've heard that one a million times.
Methodology.
The last one I get is, how do I know it's going to work? Right? So.
Yeah, I mean, that's a funny one, Aaron, because that's always like somebody's looking for a guarantee, which.
Right.
Almost.
Right. And in the past, if I got that, back in the day of hardcore sales, I'd say, well, the bigger question is, how do I know if you're going to work? Because I know that my XYZ product works 100% of the time. Right now, we're not talking about whether my product is going to work. We're talking about whether you're going to do the work. So let me ask you, sir, are you willing to do the work that it's going to take to get the result that you told me you wanted to get? Right?
Yeah. Trying to balance out that equation.
Around, putting them on their heels.
Yeah.
Lots of challenging, their assumptions.
And it's tiring, man. It's tiring on both sides. And then a lot of times people will get off the phone or get off a session and not feel like they made the decision themselves, but the decision was made for them. And that's always a place you don't want to be.
And that's exactly where, it's important to educate our audience, right? You can use language. You can use NLP, you can use tactics, and they will work a certain percentage of the time. But the person didn't make that decision on their own. You coerced them into that decision. And the moment that they're done making that decision, now what happens after they've given you the credit card or they've sent you the money or whatever, now they instantly go into the buyer's remorse cycle.
I got to tell you,
right? Because they know subconsciously they didn't make that decision on their own.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. That's how you get big refunds or changes of minds or people not paying. And then it's like, that's worse, right? Did all that work and what didn't go well? Everybody kind of felt awkward. Then no money exchanges hands and it's even worse. It's just a bad cycle to get in. But it brings me to a funny story. I just got a new truck a week ago. I got the Cadillac XT6, the big,
lovely,
beautiful truck with the third seat. And I go down to the deal, and you know how the dealers work. I go down to the dealer. I'm looking at the cars I want to look at. I decide on the one I want for the most part, but it's not like the color scheme I want. But these guys are trained, the sales guys, they're trained to say, hey, listen, I could give you a call back next week if something else comes in, but if you come in right now and sit down with my manager, we're going to be able to really get you the best deal possible today. I said, and being in sales, I'm the last guy you want to start that shit with, right? So I'm like, listen, buddy, I'm just going to be honest with you right now. I've been in sales my whole life. I'm not coming to sit down with anybody today. In fact, if you can give me a call in a couple days, let me know if you have my color scheme. I'm happy to come in, but I'm not going to sit down today to save an extra $100 a month to get a car scheme and a color scheme I don't want just to save money. But they need to get you in the seat and then bring the manager over to make it like he's massaging the deal. There's this whole process, by the way, with that. And I love pattern interrupting those guys and totally spinning their whole pitch on its head and doing everything that they don't want to happen.
Absolutely.
So I just did it to him.
I do the same thing with I do the same thing with auto dealers where I'll go and I'll look at it and they try to put me in the box. They call it the box. You know, try to get me in the
when
box.
you're getting boxed in because you're in sales, right? So it's funny sometimes.
They want to get me in the office. They want me to talk to the person, the finance guy, this, that. I'm like, okay, first off, I'm paying cash. So I'm not going to the box. Secondly, I'm going to go think about it and I'm going to send you an offer later. And then I will literally email whoever it is, 2 days later and say, here's my offer. I'm not interested in negotiating. I'm not interested in countering. Do not contact me unless we are good to go on this offer. End of story.
But
right?
listen, if you have a real sales pro who deals with like guys being a little bit like we're kind of poking fun at them, but a real professional salesperson, they handle that well. The novice salespeople get all jammed up because you've taken them. Most people always comply. Yeah, sure. You know what? I'll try to get in today and whatnot. And they're all real nice with them. But I always should like to try to tell them no for everything, even if I want to say yes, because I just like to see how they react. It's almost funny at some point. And by the way, a lot of you should try that. I mean, you should see how people respond and what their rebuttal is. Because once in a while when you do it, you'll find somebody who answers you in a really good way, and it's not even a cheesy, hardcore way. It's in a way where, that makes sense. Like they somehow met in the middle, right? You'll find somebody who's a pro who can do it more elegantly.
Yeah, and occasionally on when I hit them up, they'll say, you know what? I can't do that, but I could do this and throw in these extra benefits and blah, blah, blah. Oh, maybe they open me up. Or I can't do it now, but we've got this great sale coming in the fall. Do you think you could wait that long before you decided to purchase? Because if we can wait till that time, I probably could get my manager to do that deal. Would that be acceptable to you? Yeah.
Yeah, and like very respectful about it, kind of giving you options. You'll find the pro. The rookie guy the other day, he was just totally deflated when I said, no, I'm not coming in today under any circumstances. So like to him, it was like his whole day was over. He didn't know where to go because you could tell he was kind of new.
Because he has no tools.
He has no tools.
He has no tools
training.
And no experience.
He has no tools. But listen, he also doesn't really have great people skills, because if you have great people skills and great communication skills, you can easily navigate around the rebuttals and still maintain a good relationship and still put that person in your pipeline and put them in a process to follow up with them. And it can, you should expect people to say no quite a bit. The question is, how do we close that gap and get more people to say yes? But the reality is most people won't say yes now. So a lot of times it's no for now. It's no right now, not no indefinitely. And 2 episodes ago, on episode, I want to say 10 or 11, I don't know, but the topic was education-based marketing and why you need that component in your business. And we showed that. Do you remember we showed that pyramid of really like 3 to 7% of people are in buying mode right now, but 60% of people could be persuaded to buy. They're not really sure if they're not interested because they haven't been shown the right offer. And most people still focus on that teeny tiny 2 or 3% at the top of the graph. You can go to salesvelocitytv.com. You can see that graph in the show notes on episode, I think it was 11. And it's really helpful because if you understand that there's different buying levels where people's mindset is, and you start to open the mouth of where people are in the buying process, you can structure your marketing and your sales so that you're in front of way more people and not just trying to shove your product down the throat of the 2 or 3% who are ready to buy now, which is even probably lower than that.
Right. And the way to sell with less resistance is to actually get information in people's hands that overcome these objections before they actually get to you. So let's work backwards through those objections. Mm-hmm. How do I know it's going to work for me? This comes down to very clearly knowing who your ideal customer is, only marketing to your ideal customer, and then providing them with information, i.e. case studies, testimonials, reviews of people who have wanted the exact same things they want, have had the same problems that they have, and by engaging with you, have overcome all of those obstacles. You put those things into somebody's hands ahead of time, then they've already made the decision whether or not it's going to work for them, because you've already shown them multiple examples of people just like them who've already got the results.
Case studies big there. Case studies big there.
Case studies are huge, right? You break down their resistance and you start to build this belief system inside of them where these people really get me. They understand my problems.
Yeah.
they've clearly helped other people just like me. These are the people I've been searching for the whole time, right? You know who did a great job of this? Great job of this is the car company. I can't remember the name because we're on cars right now. They've just exploded. I can't remember the name of the company. Maybe you will.
Like a CarMax kind of a company?
They've actually got car vending machines right now.
Where you are?
They've got them in the United States. They've actually got car vending machines, and then then they've actually gone a step beyond that, where you can order the car online and they will deliver it to your house insured, drop it off the truck, give you the keys, and say, "There's your car."
Concierge style. I've heard of that with the high-end cars.
Right?
No, you go get a high-end Mercedes or a Bentley, you don't need to test drive it in most cases. You just
and this isn't for like Bentley and Mercedes and all that stuff.
Okay.
This is for average cars. It might be CarMax, might be the name of the brand.
Could be, yeah. Big one.
My wife saw this and she was like, "Oh my God, the next time we buy a car, I am buying it exactly like this because I hate talking to salespeople. Yeah. I hate going into the office. I hate being stuffed in the box. I hate spending 9 hours. Why do I spend 9 hours in a delership to sign some pieces of paper and get some keys to a car?"
Yeah. When I decided on that car, I'm like 2 hours gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing is they are appeasing her desires. They get her, right? So they created a process.
And that's most people, by the way. Most people would love to avoid that process.
Absolutely. They spoke to her pain. She's like, "That's the only place I'm buying a car from now on."
Yeah.
Right? Because they said those things. Do you hate going into a dealership? Do you hate this? Do you hate high pressure? Do you hate spending 6 hours to buy a car? Blah, blah, blah. Why don't you just go online, buy a car, and we'll deliver it to your house pre-insured with the keys ready for you? She's like, done, jackpot, right?
You know who crushed it with this too, Aaron? Is years ago online was Zappos with the shoe thing.
Absolutely.
Nobody ever would have thought that you could somehow ship shoes to people and they would pay the shipping back and forth because they really, obviously the elephant in the room was, well, how am I going to buy shoes without trying them on? You know what? We're going to ship them to you at our expense. You'll buy them, of course. If you don't like the way they fit, you send them back. We'll send you the postage. If you like the way they fit, you keep them. And you could go back and forth until the shoe fit the way you want. But what did you avoid? You avoided the stores and the salespeople and the trying things on and getting out of your house and going to probably would have been even better today when people are stuck inside due to the pandemic over the past year. I don't think they're around now. They sold. By the way, Aaron, did you know the founder of Zappos,
Tony Hsieh, who I met in Las Vegas about 10 years ago, passed away about 6 months ago.
Passed away, fell off, got like in a fire in Connecticut, something weird.
Yeah, it is. It was it was an accidental death, and there's a lot of sad pieces around that story. And
I just heard
that company was actually on the verge of bankruptcy, and Tony came in and said, "You know what we're going to do? We're going to give people the opportunity to return the shoes for free shipping on return." And the board of directors lost their mind. This was before it was commonplace.
Yeah, because you think that everybody's going to return the shoes over.
Yeah, and this, Zappos was like 2005. Like this is like way long time ago, where like nobody was doing this kind of stuff yet.
Right.
And he blazed that trail, and the whole thing, their whole motto was deliver happiness. He has a great book called Delivering Happiness.
Yeah, the name of the book, exactly.
Yeah, and he was like, what are people's biggest objection to buying shoes online? They're worried they're not going to fit or they're not going to look good. So let's just remove that objection for them ahead of time. And it instantly took off, and he sold it to Yahoo. Was it Yahoo?
Not sure exactly. Not sure. I don't even know.
He sold it for like $1.2 billion in like 2008.
Yeah, amazing.
It was incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Counterintuitive model. Totally counterintuitive.
Absolutely.
Model. But yeah,
right. But again, knowing your customer, knowing their pains, knowing what they want, and overcoming their objection before they even get to you, which in this case was his website.
Yep.
Right. So I have no money right now. Right. How do you overcome that objection ahead of time? Right. Put something in place that finds out whether or not they're in a financial position to move forward with you. And you see this executed very, very well in many types of application style funnels, right? Where are you at in your business? How many people are working with you? What's your current revenue? What are you looking to spend on marketing this year? If this is a right fit for you, when do you want to be moving forward, right? And if they answer, a year from now, or have no money right now, right? then you send them a different piece of information. You don't book them to a meeting or a strategy session or a sales call, because it's a waste of time for both of you right now, and it's going to force you into one of those heavy-handed tactics.
Yeah.
Right?
So that's a pre-qualifying approach, right?
Yeah, pre-qualifying approach works super, super well, right? It's your price is too much. Someone does it cheaper.
Or can you work with me on price? I mean, right?
Can you work with me on price?
These are normal things that happen.
Yeah, and I have to make concessions sometimes with people to get them to move forward. I'm not saying I don't ever make concessions, but I want people to know before they get to me the size of company that I typically work with, right? So at my agency, for example, I put out in all of our information, every podcast I do, every referral partner we have, every piece of literature, we work with companies who are currently spending $1,000 per day on paid media, and they're looking to scale to $10,000 per day plus, right? The people in that group, they know and can afford my price point. Almost every single one of them that I speak to, when I say this is what it costs to work with me, they go, yeah, that seems reasonable, right? Because I'm not pitching it to every Tom, Dick, and Harry. I don't take on startups. I don't take on people who have $100 a day ad budgets, because I know it's not financially responsible for them to engage with me. So by putting out in the marketplace who we work with very, very clearly, I don't have people showing up saying, oh, you're too much, such and such does it cheaper. On the rare occasion when somebody does slip that in, I clearly have my value proposition laid out to blow that comparison out of the water. That's a one-man show. When you work with us, you get creative, you get copywriters, you get tech, you get a project manager, you get a campaign manager, you get a strategist, you get access to me. I've been doing this for 15 years and done almost $1 billion in sales. That's not what you get over there, but you're welcome to go and give that a shot if you want, right?
Yeah, and it's also figuring out a way when you're having these conversations to have like a Mercedes-Benz versus a Hyundai conversation, right? If you've really stacked your offer the right way, so to speak, you can say, listen, right? You can say, listen, the reason price feels a little high to you is because we really look at ourselves as the Mercedes-Benz of fill in the blank. And again, a Hyundai, Mercedes-Benz, they'll both get you from point A to point B, but there's just a different level of feel and performance up here. And you can go that route. You bring up a great point. You bring up a great point. Whatever it is that you're offering in the world, look at your price point in the marketplace and ask yourself, am I delivering 2 to 3 times more value than what I'm offering this for? And if you can 100% believe and feel comfortable that that is the case, then your confidence level will be off the charts when you explain that. Yeah. I personally believe, when you engage with us, you should be paying us $25,000 to $30,000 a month. But that's not what we charge, because the audience that I work with can't justify that at the moment they get to me. But I feel 100% like that's what we should be charging, right? So if you have created your value stack and it's so overwhelmingly good, and you've spoken to your audience ahead of time so they clearly know who you're looking to work with and who you engage with, then the whole it's too much, someone does it cheaper rarely comes up. Yeah, and then you don't get negotiated with, right? There's nothing worse than ending up in a situation where you're making a presentation and you end up in price negotiations. It's awkward for everybody. In fact, you probably should position your offer in a way, or your service in a way, where it's non-negotiable, because people they respect the leadership and the positioning of you and what it is that you do when you don't cut deals. Like I feel like when you're constantly cutting deals, you look desperate, and it's a little bit of weakness, and it's almost like you're not really sure about your thing. You're cutting, like you're quick to diminish the value of it, and I think that can be dangerous as well. So, also a piece of this, Aaron, is some will, some won't, right?
Yep.
There's always going to be no's. There's always going to be yeses, and there's always going to be thinking about its people in the middle. And I think where we're going here is that you really need to have a path for all of them. You need a path for the no's. The no's, don't be a buy or die salesperson. Don't not have strategic follow-up for those that say no, because most people are saying no, but only no right now. Maybe not no later with the right follow-up communication. And the ones who are in the middle thinking about it, maybe, right? Have something for them. They're on the fence.
And that, I mean, you talked a little bit about, the SW4 concept, right? Some will, some won't. So what? Someone's waiting.
Is that what it's
right?
called? The SW4? I hadn't heard that.
You have to have, I have zero attachment to the outcome. I expect the best, but I have zero attachment to the outcome. And because I don't have any attachment to the outcome, they don't feel the pressure and I don't feel the pressure. I'm simply delivering what I can do.
Yep.
Then they have to make a decision whether or not, it works for them. But it takes me to the last 2 points, which is, I've got to talk to my business partner, or I've got to talk to my spouse, or I've got to think about it, or whatever, right? For me, I remove that right from the equation. I don't let anybody get started with me on the first day, right? Like for me, I'll send somebody, I say, okay, so here's the next steps. I'm going to send you a proposal with a complete breakdown. Okay. I want you to review it. If you've got any questions, send me an email, et cetera, blah, 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 blah. I can't take you on until XYZ day, right? But we could get started on that day if this is the right fit for both of us. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to book a follow-up appointment 3 days from today at this time. Does that work for you? Yes? Okay, great. In those 3 days, talk to your partner, talk to your spouse, review the proposal, send me any questions you have. Let's reconnect on that day. We'll go through it, and if we're both decide we're a good fit for each other, then we'll move forward on the X day that I talked about. That. So I've just snatched the pressure right out of the situation, both for them and for me. And they're kind of like, wow, first off, this is a pro. Secondly,
he's not trying to get the money now, right?
No, they don't need me. Like, people be like, can I just give you my credit card? No, I don't want your credit card right now. Let me just send you the proposal. We'll go ahead. Because if anything, I've actually found that the people that are like hyper go now, like gonna give me the card, blah, 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 blah. They're making a rash decision, and they're probably going to be a nightmare client for me anyway.
Yeah. We talked we talked about this episodes back about slowing down the sales process.
Yeah.
That's tough to do, but that's what the pros do. Is they don't need to rush.
No, and it's funny, like January just came around and I was trying to ease into the new year and like put some new processes in place and stuff, and I got absolutely smacked because there was about a dozen people that had been in the pipeline over the last 4 months. They were like, it's just not the right time right now. We need to do this first or this first. No problem. Hit me up when you're ready. And sure enough, New Year's resolutions, want to do things. We got.
But if you had beat them down, they weren't ever coming back. So they wouldn't have circled back around, obviously.
Yeah. There was no pressure. There's no aggression.
Yep.
There was no attachment.
Yep. On
my behalf, and that is very, very attractive.
It is
to your ideal client.
And it takes a long time, Aaron, to get to the point that you just said where you can go into a presentation, a sales call, a from stage presentation, and really not care too much. And when I say don't care, it doesn't mean like you just don't care about the business. Like you don't care if they say no. You don't care if they say yes, because you have so much deal flow, so much potential, so much lead gen happening that some will say yes, some won't. And when you don't have emotional attachment, like you said, to the outcome, you don't need to push the sale. You give people their space. They respect that, and they will circle back around more so than if they got beat up a little bit. And it just takes some time to get there.
Yeah, and when you're using this sort of methodology, the one thing I always tell people is when you're starting from scratch, it takes like 3 weeks to even start to fill a pipeline.
Yeah.
And, typically I see clients that take 3 months before they get in like a consistent groove, So you have to have that patience in the beginning of filling the pipeline, establishing the process, getting it full. And once you get it full, oh my goodness, you you really get to the point where you need to say more no's than yeses.
Yeah, which brings it all back to marketing at the end of the day, right? Marketing and sales are so intertwined. Most people divide it and they think they're two separate things. But if your marketing is really well, I wrote this in my book, Sales Velocity, great marketing always precedes a great sales process. A great sales process has trouble existing on its own because it won't have enough deal flow coming into it. It can be a good sales process, but great marketing just puts more and more people in the flow and doesn't allow you to get so emotionally attached to the few deals and the few presentations that you have. Good marketing just gives you the ability to get in front of more people. More people you get in front of, more presentations you have, the less resistance there is because the less attachment you have to the outcome. And, this is like a spider web, right? You could tie all of our episodes together and there's a spider web effect right here where it's not one thing that has to happen. It's multiple things that have to happen synergistically for your sales process to be pretty much resistance free.
Yeah, and that's what I want. I want to do business with the people who already know, like, and trust me. I want to do business with people who know how I operate. I want to do business with people I like and trust. And I want to have what I like to call lead abundance. Mm-hmm. So I can pick and choose who I want to engage with so that I can have a stress-free, happy life.
Yeah. Yeah, I tell you, one of the holes I see in all of this now is we talked about the three phases of people. Some just are not interested at all. Some are thinking about it, and some are ready to go right now. There's really three buckets, right? And everybody falls under those three buckets. And it's amazing to me when I've been on presentations and I've taken pitches, and they've done the right things leading up. They've done the right things on the presentation. And when I say, sounds good, let me mull it over, talk to a partner, whatever, do the same things most people do. And then I never hear from them again, which is amazing to me because that middle person who is clearly a good candidate in thinking about it could easily be moved towards a decision in a week or a month with the right follow-up. And again, it just comes down to just they're on to the next one. And then when that happens, me as the consumer now, because I'm always looking at it very analytically because it's my business, right? I look at it and I go, man, if they never want to follow up, maybe I was like ready to go right now. I just needed to talk to somebody. I never heard from the guy again. So if I didn't buy right now, are they really a buy or die type model? And then I lose respect, right? Because you couldn't put 4 or 5 follow-up emails over the course of a week out. You couldn't send a package in the mail. You couldn't make a follow-up call saying, hey, I know you were on the fence last week. Wanted to check in, see how you're doing. No pressure. Just wanted to see if maybe you want to grab one of these spots. Nothing. Great leading up, great during, and then nothing after. I see that probably more than anything else is the lack of follow-through.
And that just comes down to having a full, encompassing, elegant process, which we talk about all these different facets on all of our different episodes. And, when you get them right, and you put them in place, this becomes fun. It becomes easy. You work with the people you want to work with. You're never in lead poverty. And you establish a fantastic reputation for yourself because you're working with the people who closest match your core competency.
Yeah. And listen, it's one of the reasons we started Pipeline Pro. Pipeline Pro powers the Sales Velocity Show. If you look at the branding, that is our sales and marketing software platform that handles the lead coming in, categorizes it, handles the lead at the time of it maybe becoming sale, and then follows up with it all on a dashboard where you can see it. We filled the need for ourselves before we filled the need in the marketplace. And that's always something to think about too. If you've gone through something that helped you overcome a process and now you've created we talked last week on the Tom Brady episode about the TB12 method, same thing, right? Filled the need for himself, created a method around it, and now there's a need that can be filled out in the public. When you can be in that situation right there, you're never, like you said, great term, in lead poverty, right? Because A, you have a system to handle it. B, you have a method that's very clear.
On that note, I think this show's a wrap, my friend.
Any final takeaways?
This doesn't have to be hard. That's why we talk about less resistance.
Doesn't have to be hard. Doesn't have to be difficult. Sometimes it's just a matter of just taking your head out of the difficult. I think sales just in general with presentations, people just get guard up-ish with presentations as a whole. But just relax, right? If you do a presentation, just make sure you have a system to support it because not everybody's going to buy right now. But ultimately, you get some more no's with great follow-up, great marketing, great systems, as we talk about time and time again. But yeah, short one today. Want to just get a couple mental shifts in place for all of you here today. Next episode, we have a good one for you. we're gonna let it all hang out in the next episode. I don't want to tell what that episode is because you got to come back. I mean, you have to be here on Fridays at 11 a.m. Eastern if you want to catch us live. But if not, download the show. You're probably listening. If you're watching, download the show on Apple, Google, Stitcher, I think Amazon, maybe Spotify, not sure. But great to listen to it on the go. Always fun, Aaron. Good one here today. And I'm going to wrap it here. We'll see you in the next episode of Sales Velocity. Everybody have a great one.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Sales Velocity TV is powered by Pipeline Pro, the ultimate all-in-one sales pipeline management and marketing automation platform that makes all others obsolete. And we can prove it. Take a tour at gopipelinepro.com. See you on the next episode.